Hey, I'm Gavin, and I dropped a video on digital representation on my technical channel. I made the comment 5 days ago. I wonder if conversations about government are the waters I should or shouldn't be wading into. Matthew Parlato said, Meh, follow the logos. Remember where your salvation lies. You'll be fine. To which I responded, Yesterday I learned how victory is achieved through Christ in us. And Matthew Parlato responded, Amen. I'd love to hear more. And so sometimes I create videos. I do a kind of journaling for myself, which ends up helping me think through, to express my thoughts, to try out some thoughts, see how those thoughts make me feel as I express them, see if they are, if the peace of God remains within me, does it grow or shrink as I express the thoughts? And so journaling, doing some kind of private expressions, whether they are written or recorded audio, video, this is part of the practices that I do that help me. And so I spent some time making expressions about politics. And then as I was making expressions about politics, I realized that I could be perceived as an accuser. And then I also realized that if Christ were here now and healing sick people and raising people from the dead, that the government, the United States government, would not allow this person to be elected. Now I may be wrong on that, but what I understand is that there are laws in each state about how you get on a ballot and how you can be a write-in candidate. And so there's a point in time, and if we want to go extreme, like let's say that Christ shows up, let's just say 1 week before the elections for President of the United States, and starts raising people from the dead and starts healing people. I get chill bumps talking about this. Well, it should be the case that we would, my first impression, my first expression in my journaling was to think it should be the case that the person, Christ, that I practice making my king, that we would all be able to elect this king into a position of power and influence. And then the realization was that the system that is in place would not allow that. And that's kind of it's an attempt to point at the system and how it is lacking in my mind. And there was a temptation to say, oh, Satan created the system. That sounds like accusation. And then there's a remembering that even Satan was created by God. And then there was a thought that maybe that's a good thing, that Christ could not be elected into a position of power and influence within the systems of the world. Maybe it's a better thing that we all get to have the heart and mind of Christ within us, that's what we're aiming for, and that then we end up putting on like a mask. We end up wearing some kind of a costume, a disguise, and so behind this face and this name is Christ, and nobody really knows that there's a Christ within this person. And just to be honest, it's like Christ is not always in this person. I'd love for Christ to be in this person more frequently and more deeply. So just to be transparent, I'm not saying Christ is always in me. And maybe that's even a good thing, right? That Christ can sneak in and into people. And so then there's a way in which Christ sneaks in inside of our heart, inside of our mind, and then we are able to do good works in secret. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Maybe it's the other hand, but the general idea is that there's a kind of service in which we aren't shouting you're not playing the trumpet so that everybody looks at us to see the good works that we're doing. And so victory is achieved through Christ in us. I mean, that's the comparison, and the contrast is, would you rather have a king, a Christ, an individual body that you can go and touch and point at and say, there's the Christ, and then you elect them to be the president of the United States, would you, or the leader of the United Nations? Like, would you like to have that? Or would you prefer this kind of Christ? I get chill bumps. Would you prefer this Christ that can enter into people and wear a disguise to look like a person who maybe even did terrible things in the past, but is now able to go do just miraculous work, miraculously good work in order to do the Father's will, to bring the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven? Which one would you rather have? And I would tell you it's like my Christianity is a bit reasonable and rational. My suggestion is that the Christ which operates in disguise within those who were the lost sheep is a much better approach, a much better strategy than the Christ that operates within one body, within one meat bag, within one entity that everybody can point at and recognize and maybe scan the barcode and make sure it's the real deal, and who gets elected into a position of power within an existing system. One's better than the other. So that is how victory is achieved through Christ in us. Matthew Parlato, thank you for encouraging me to share more.